Nate?
Yeah.
Hi, Nate. It's Cage Junkies.
Oh, hey, what's going on?
Hey, buddy. You have time for some questions?
Yeah, you must be calling on the East Coast time because it's 9 o'clock here.
Yeah, you said 12 o'clock. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm good. I'm just in here drinking coffee.
Okay, you're in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I hope I didn't wake you up.
No. I'm just drinking my coffee, watching crappy TV.
So let's try to get to it if you have a couple minutes.
Yeah, man.
All right. So you haven't fought since March of 2010. What have you been up to lately?
Geez, I had so much going on. One of the biggest things is the company that did my back surgery, invasive. I'm working with them as a spokesman. So I'm able to go out and tell people about my surgery and help others that are suffering, let them know that they don't have to suffer for years on end, that the technology is now available, that they can get their life back and get right back towards living life on their terms. And we even formed an organization called The Better Way Back, website, thebetterwayback.org. And what it is anyone that's suffering from back pain or leg pain, they go to this website, they can find their local surgeon that's trained in the procedure that I have, which in my mind is just a phenomenal procedure. It's what really allows me to get back in the ring so quickly. Plus, it's a community. It gives support and education. So let's say your grandmother has a terrible degenerative disc disease or scoliosis. She finds one of the surgeons that's versed in the expert, the procedure that I had, and then we'll also pair her up with another patient, someone that's already been there and done that, and just kind of give her someone to talk to as she's going through this process. And I know for me, that was just huge, as I didn't have anyone to talk to. Matt Milicic himself, when I told him I was going to get back surgery, he said, "Man, whatever you do, don't get back surgery. You'll never fight again."
Right.
And I just got so lucky getting the right surgery with the right surgeon, and now being able to turn that horrible time in my life into something positive is actually incredibly rewarding. I'm doing my zombie cage fighter line. It's taken off like crazy. The way the whole thing started was I was on G4 on Attack of the Chill and asked me what my next big thing was, and meaning what my next fight was, and I said, well, right now I'm working on zombie cage fighter. The rules are pretty simple. For humans, no fighting. For zombies, mostly fighting. The producer comes up to me and goes, "Man, that's amazing. I want to see everything you've got on it." So what really happened, long story short, was I just sat down and started writing. And I wrote out an entire screenplay based on my life, but I'm throwing zombies in for the mix. Because I didn't want to write the usual Rocky stories. People always been telling me, "Man, where you come from is so crazy, your experiences, you should write this down." I was like, it's been done a million times.
Yeah.
I don't want to be just this year's Rocky movie played by some crappy B actor.
Right.
I wanted to write my story, my experiences, what I've seen and done, what my true motivations were, and then throw in zombies as the antagonist.
Very good. You a fan of The Walking Dead?
Oh, huge fan, yeah. I just bought the last 3 issues of the comic. I read the comic and watch the show.
Any training, coaching?
I've been doing just a little bit, kind of floating here and there. Worked with Mike Pierce just a little bit for his past couple fights. Just kind of floating, but I've been such injury prone. Actually, it was 2.5 weeks ago. I was training with one of those guys, getting ready for a fight, just sparring one-on-one, light sparring. And he shin kicks me right in the side of my left knee. So I've got a nice MCL tear, and I'm just going to spend 2 or 3 more months healing without being able to do anything or train at all. He goes up running.
You've gone 4-2 in your last 6 UFC fights. However, a lot of fighters tend to want to go out on a win. Are you ever thinking about possibly one last fight for the UFC?
You know, if they could line me up with somebody that I'm a guaranteed lock, like maybe choose a fan out of the crowd, be like, welcome to the UFC, here's your bottle number. Congratulations, if you're seated in section G, row 32, CK, come on down, you're Nate Quarry's next opponent. I'd be totally down for that, but yeah, there's never a guarantee that you're going to go on the Octagon and win. That to me is the biggest, that's what makes this sport so exciting.
Right.
If you see, one thing you see the heart of the fighters exposed, like a Ron watching these fights, I'm always going to want to fight. People always ask me, are you still thinking about fighting? I'll be thinking about it like every single day. Probably on the hour. I'm sitting there thinking, man, I should get these punching somebody in the face right now. That would feel so good.
Very good. Do you have any favorites or any ones that stand out for you?
The two, well, the most important fight of my entire career was my comeback fight, my rematch with Pete Sell. It's one of those things that honestly, I don't watch sports very much. I don't watch basketball or football or baseball because I honestly don't care that much. I don't know any of the players. I don't know any of their backstories. I'm not going to root for this guy. Kobe Bryant wins the title. He's not fighting me over. We're not partying in his backyard. I don't know their stories. My fight against Pete Sell was one of those stories where it's not about glory. It's not about a title. It's about making a better life for my little girl and making sure that I'm able to provide for her in a way that I was never provided for. And that fight, when I showed up in Vegas that weekend, well, 2 days before that, Sunday, so you fly out on Tuesday. Sunday night, I'm at a sponsor's house. And this was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I'm sitting at his desk in his office, and I said, well, you mentioned a few weeks ago you would consider sponsoring me for this fight. If you could do that, that would mean the world to me because I'm fighting in 7 days and I don't have money for food.
Right.
And he looked at me and he said, yeah, I can do that. He writes me a check for $500. And that's what kept me fed for the entire week of the fight down there because I was literally fighting for food money. I hadn't fought in 22 months. I had had this spinal fusion back surgery, which no one thought it was possible for someone to come back from a back surgery. You never hear the good stories. All you hear is these horror stories. Even when I told the UFC I'm going to be back after my surgery, they said, man, we'd love you to come back. You're a great fighter, you're a big draw, but yeah, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. So I'm coming back from that. I left Team Quest after I just felt that the atmosphere there was just not conducive to my own success. My credit card was completely maxed out. One of the funny things was about the fight was I was sponsored by Toyo tires. The reason for that was my tires were so bald on my truck that I was getting flat tires driving around. I was driving around on the spare, and the other back tire had fix-a-flat in it. Every time I would fly away for the weekend, I'd come back to the airport, and my tire would be flat. So I had to carry fix-a-flat with me everywhere, running around on the spare. So I had Toyo tires sponsored me just for a set of tires, so I could finally be able to drive in somewhat safety. All my brakes were so shot too that when you would brake, the whole truck would just shudder.
Wow.
Going into this fight, my show money was $10,000. So my credit card was maxed out at $25,000. That's what I've been living on for the past 22 months as I healed from my back surgery and tried to get back into shape. So I'm showing for 10. Hopefully if I win, I'm getting another 10. After this huge layoff, my last fight was getting brutally knocked out by Rich Franklin in front of millions of people, which is being shown over and over and over again. Leaving Team Quest, actually going through a custody battle for my daughter to make sure that I didn't lose her in my life. Now I'm going into this fight knowing that if I put on a poor performance, I'm done. There's no way they're going to bring me back after a back surgery and a poor performance.
Sure.
And when I get into the ring and I start fighting, you can see the ring rust on me, and I'm tight, and I'm nervous, and I'm scared. And he hits me in the second round and drops me, and the first thought through my head is, keep the ref off of me because I'm not done. I would rather die at this moment than lose this fight.
Sure.
And the third round starts, and I look across the ring and I see him and I say, if I don't finish him now, my dreams are over. I won't be able to take care of my little girl. I'll be done fighting. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to finish him now or that's it for me. And I ran across the ring and just threw everything I had at him and was, like I said, at that moment, willing to die. That's what it took to make sure my little girl was okay.
Sure.
And I was able to knock him down and then finish him off at the end of the third round. And it was this huge relief that we were going to be okay. And then on top of it, I got the fight of the night and the knockout of the night. And it was such a whirlwind of emotions. And to cap it off, so I'm in Vegas. never forget, okay? Okay, I'm not going to forget this journey. I'm never going to get cocky about it. You just proved once again that I have no say on what happens in my life, okay? I'm not going to forget. That was about as close to a prayer as I ever come. That one day was the most important day in my life and my daughter's life.
Gotcha. Now, you've only had 4 fights. I don't know if you realize this, but you've had 4 fights go to a decision in a 10-year career. Was it always your goal to be an exciting fighter?
My goal every time was just to fight as hard as I possibly could. I never wanted to win by a decision. And I've said this before, I would rather get brutally knocked out and be a highlight video for years to come than win a boring fight. That's just not me. I'm not there just to win. My job is to fight and win decisively and put a show on for the fans. I want people to look at me when I'm fighting, and I want them to go, holy crap, this guy can do that. He came from nowhere. He started training when he was 24. He didn't do any sports as a kid. And now here he is fighting in the UFC and putting on that kind of a show. I can make my life better too. For me, that's always been my big motivation, to show the world what I'm capable of, to motivate other people to question themselves, see what they're capable of, and to set an example for my daughter. One of the most touching things she has ever done was she was supposed to do an acrostic for school, taking the letters of the word dad and doing something that describes me. And she hands me this paper, and it says, D does what he says. A, amazing person. B, doesn't quit. And she handed that to me, and I was just like, I'm done. This is all I ever wanted. I wanted you to see what it takes to make your life better than it is. I framed that piece of paper and hung it on my wall to remind myself why I fight so hard.
Right. Now, you mentioned a few times that you didn't do any sports until you were 24 years old. What was it like when you won your first MMA fight?
The whole night was just unbelievable. I didn't know what to expect, having never competed in anything for the most part at all. Randy Couture was there cornering me. The pre-fight doctor, if you could call it that, she's checking my pulse. My resting heart rate was 130 beats a minute as I'm sitting there. I go out to fight, and just like with every one of my fights, as soon as the bell rings, my mind just goes clear. And here I am, solely in the moment, and all I'm doing is fighting. And I was able to beat the guy, beat him up standing, and then he took me down, and I whipped on the triangle and tapped him out at about a minute and a half, and I never even got hit in that first fight. And I jumped up off the ring, and everyone was cheering and yelling, and I was just like, I can't believe this. No one's ever cheered for me in my entire life. I've never done anything that anyone ever wanted to see. And now here I am, the center of attention, and I've done something, and I'm actually somewhat good at this. My own brother said on the way to the fight, to my friends he was riding with, well, once he fights this guy and gets his ass kicked, that'll get into that, because these guys are really tough. No one ever believed in me and thought that I could ever become anything. And now to be someone that's center stage there and showing the world what I'm capable of was just phenomenal. And I remember I looked right at Randy after they raised my hand, and I said, so this is what it's like to win the title in the UFC. Because to me, there was no difference between Randy beating Pedro Izzo to win the title and me beating a guy in a warehouse in Vancouver, Washington. The emotions could not have been stronger either way.
Now, considering that a lot of guys in the sport are doing well later in their careers, what made you decide to contemplate retirement?
Well, Jesus, there's so many things involved in that. And for the most part, I hate to say it, but I'm not a victim person at all. But man, I've had some bad luck on occasion. My first surgery was when I was rolling with Couture and caught me in an arm bar. And before I had the opportunity to tap, he thrust his hip through and tore my right pectoral off the bone. I had to have surgery and get that repaired. So that was a good 6 or 7 months off in the middle of my career. Then I had my back surgery, and
that you're entering the second phase of life within mixed martial arts, would you say that the fans are seeing a different side of you?
I think I would. I've always really been the same type of person. Ever since I was a kid, I'm who I am. I'm not really swayed by peer pressure or the trends or anything like that. I perceive them always laugh at me for how I dressed or how my haircut was. I've gone to the San Diego Comic Book Convention every year for probably the past 5 years. Went for the first time, I think, 12 or 15 years ago. Loved comics as a kid. I'm just an old school nerd type of guy and a huge goofball. But most guys don't see that because when they see me, I'm working. When they saw me on The Ultimate Fighter, I was there for one reason, to win the show. So I'm focused on what I'm doing. I was thrust into the role of coach for my team, which I did not want. I wanted to be just an athlete, focused on myself. Well, now everybody's like, you were picked first. You're older than the rest of us, and you should be coach. I'm like, oh, this is the last thing I wanted to do. So now everybody sees me in that role of, this is the guy that's going to make everything happen, and he cares for everybody, and all things that are true, but they only see me as that very stoic guy that's always there taking care of business when, geez, I can be just the biggest goofball that you've ever met, and the crazy stuff that I do is, like I said, the retarded stuff I do, going to Comic Cons and taking pictures with Chewbacca, and because I don't like to interact with people that I don't know. I mean, especially like on the forum. I'm the type of guy that if I have something to say, I'm going to go tell you to say it, or I'm not going to say it. It's just that simple. If I think somebody's a dick, I'm going to be like, dude, I don't want to be around you. I don't like you. That's just what it is. So I'm not going to sit around and talk smack. I'm not going to send them messages on forum. So I've always shied away from that because I get filled with rage when some little D-bag is talking smack about me or one of my friends. Because I know it's great entertainment for y'all. You get to sit home and you get to watch it, you get to cheer, and I more than understand that. But these people are my friends and this is my life. When I was on The Ultimate Fighter and my ankle was broken, they thrust the camera in my face and they say, tell us what you're thinking right now. And I go, what I'm thinking is I know this is great TV for you guys, but this is my life. So can you please show a little common courtesy here? I just saw my dreams get destroyed because my training partner ran into the back of me. Now what am I going to do? It's not TV when you're on the inside looking out. I'm trying to do better with dealing with the negative voices, although I still want to fly there and ask them in their face everything they want to say to me. Not even in a threatening way, just like, dude, really? You're going to talk this trash behind my back? Well, here I am. Sure. Go ahead and tell me to my face. Or we can sit down and have an actual conversation and get to know each other. Some guy on the underground. First time I posted in like 5 years, immediately said something like, I want to burn this forum down. I hate this guy. So I messaged him directly and I was like, dude, if you have something to say, tell me right here and now. What's your issue? He's like, well, I think what I was saying is kind of taken out of context. I just felt this post shouldn't be on this forum. It should have been on the other one. And I was like, cool. You know what? Thank you for your feedback. Is there something else that should be doing here? Can you explain it to me so I can be better at posting on the underground here? Because if all you're going to do is say you should die, that's just going to make me mad and it's going to give you the negative attention that you want because your mom and daddy never hugged you.
I agree with that. I agree with that. That's definitely the case on a lot of the forums. You've had a few injuries. Are there any day-to-day problems that you have outside of MMA?
Right now it's just for me, it's a big thing. And just having an overall soreness and muscle tightness. I always joke I'm like 90% scar tissue because I've been just beaten up so many times and I never knew about taking care of your body. I was always just a worker. I would just show up and I'll work you. That's all I ever wanted to do. No one ever sat down and showed me, well, you should be icing and you can't lift your right arm because it was so sore. You should be wrapping up your knee after you pop it. Oh, you popped a rib, you should take
who was the most influential person in your career? Who actually helped you the most along the way?
You know, most of it was just kind of the right person at the right time. No one really stuck out as
Randy, none of those guys?
Well, what Randy really taught me was what was possible. He never really became a mentor for me. He never really sat down with me and helped me develop a game plan, anything like that. But what he showed me was what was possible and what it took to be a true athlete. The first time that I met him, seeing him do a 5-minute round with a new guy coming in every couple minutes, even though these were guys that had never sparred in their life and didn't know what was going on, but seeing him go through person after person, I was like, holy crap, I didn't even know this was possible. This is what it's like, this is what it takes to be a real athlete, a real competitor in the UFC. Cool, now I've got a benchmark and that's what I'm going to go for. So I think he's probably the most influential person, just showing me what was possible.
Who are some of your favorite people in the sport?
One of my favorites right now is John Jones. I've met that guy a few times. I've hung out very little. We've never gone out and shared beers or anything like that. But he's just a cool cat. He's just relaxed. You can see, from my perspective, he just looks like a kid who's enjoying the ride of his life. And just to see how much he enjoys this ride and this game. The beginning of the fight against Quentin Jackson, when he came out on all fours and was moving around, I was just like, dude, I don't care what you do from now on with your life. You could go murder a buffalo and nuns, and I'm still going to be a fan after that. That is awesome.
It's nice to see you give a shout out to John Jones. He's also a person that tends to get a lot of hate on some of the forums.
Dude, that is ridiculous. I don't know how you can hate John Jones. That is just ridiculous. The guy has been carrying through opponents. His one loss is to Matt Hamill after destroying Hamill and throwing an illegal elbow. That's it. Other than that, I think the closest he's ever been tested was when my good buddy Stephen Bonner came up the distance. And that was, when I saw that fight, I was pissed because I'm such good friends with Stephen, but as I'm watching it, I'm just going, who is this guy? Oh my God, this guy's incredible. He's got such great physical attributes, such a great ring presence. He knows what he's doing, can switch from long range to clinch and drop people down. And when he's in people's guard, he's not just stalling, he's not throwing little pitter-patter body shots. No, he's dropping elbow bombs. I don't know how you could dislike that guy. He's phenomenal.
Who do you normally keep in contact with in the sport? I know that Chris Leapin has had some problems recently. Have you spoken with him, or do you have people you keep in contact with regularly?
No, I haven't spoken with Leapin. I helped him with get on a 3-fight win streak a few years or so ago, and then geez, how do I put this nicely? It just my coaching style didn't really work with his personality, so he said, you know what, I'm better off doing this myself. And I said, cool. Good luck, man. Have fun. And now he's out where he's at now, and I'm always going to wish him the best. Always going to love him and consider him a friend. He's got some issues he needs to deal with, but it's not my place to judge or tell him how he should live his life. So, yeah, other than that, man, I don't know. I stay in contact with a bunch of the guys from season 1 still, Kara Lexus and Rafferty and Alex Schoenhauer, a bunch of those guys. And if I just run into somebody at fights, then I'm hanging out with them. But like up here in the Northwest right now, in the Portland area, there's no real fighters that have been around for a long time that I've trained with other than Chael. And I haven't trained with Chael now in years and years and years. So don't really see anybody when I'm at home in Oregon. I'm just a homebody hanging out with my little girl for the most part.
How do you feel about Chael's success?
Boy, I think he's doing a lot of good things. Whether you like his antics or not, you have to be loved or hated. And it's really easy to be hated in this industry. So go for it, man. Play that role, play that field. People don't realize Chael's been fighting in the UFC longer than I have. He's been in and out of the UFC 2 or 3 times for, geez, I should look this up, and I want to say 7 or 8 years. Nobody ever knew who he was because he just showed up and he did his job and left. One of my favorite fights of all time was when he fought Trevor Praney
considered 2005 the year that the UFC made its breakthrough. And that was also the year that you made your Ultimate Fighter appearance. How do you feel about being called a pioneer of the sport? Do you feel like a pioneer?
Well, I don't feel like a pioneer because I don't think that's on me to say. I think that history is what decides those types of things. Everyone I ever heard say, oh, I want to be a legend in the sport, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm like, dude, it's not up to you to decide if you're a legend. That's what the fans say. That's what the people watching say. So if the fans are saying that I'm a pioneer in the sport, then man, that's a huge honor to me. I got excited with the UFC and UFC 1, watching the very first one, and seeing Shamrock and Royce Gracie, and to now I'll be able to see them and they know who I am and talk with them. And it's unbelievable for me. Even when I fought Jorge Rivera, I was like, dude, I remember sitting on the couch watching you against Franklin, and I was like, holy crap, this guy's phenomenal. When I fought Shoni Carter, I was like, dude, I'm fighting a legend here on the sport. This guy's had like 100 fights, and I just can't believe this guy. It's an incredible honor, and it's a ride I never could have believed, and could believe it was possible, and especially with the Ultimate Fighter, to never even being able to fight on the show, to get this huge following just because of the way that I carry myself. To me, that's more important than being some knuckle dragger that knocks somebody out.
You've been pretty vocal online about your desire to go into broadcasting. What made you decide that was the direction you wanted to go?
Well, the whole reason I got into MMA in the first place is because I'm a fan of it. I just love the sport. I'd never done anything as a kid. I never watched boxing because I thought it was too violent. I'd see these guys beating each other up, and I would think to myself, how degrading is that? These guys are getting punched in the face for money. Why would anybody do that in this day and age? And then I see UFC, and I see these guys competing with just this incredible skill level, this athleticism, and then the respect and honor they show against each other. And I was just hooked from day one. And to me, it was finally a place where I could excel and make something of myself and really live life on my terms. I don't want that right to end. I want to be a part of the sport forever. And I love sitting down and talking about it. I love talking to the fighters. And I've been there and I've done that. And especially working with the UFC. When I signed the original contract with them during the filming of Tough One, I remember I looked at Dana and I said, I'm more than happy to sign this contract because I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't see myself fighting in the UFC and then maybe going over to Pride, you cut me or anything like that. Like, this is the only place I want to be. And if I'm not fighting for the UFC, I don't want to fight anywhere. And that being said, whether I ever fought again or not, I want to be associated with the UFC, who made the sport of MMA what it is today. I think it'd be an incredible honor. And because I've been there and done that, I'm not an outsider looking in. When I was the host of American Cage Fighters for our 12-ish episode run, I was able to sit down with fighters like Anthony Johnson and say, dude, what is your deal with not making weight? How much do you weigh right now? Like 260, 270? What's going on? That's the kind of stuff that I, as a fighter, can ask. Because I've had interviewers ask me questions, and I'm like, who are you? What do you know about it? You going to tell me about cutting weight? Why don't you drop some weight? Like, I'm on the inside, and I can ask these questions because I've been there and I've done that. I've had some brutal wars, and I've never quit. I've showed my heart. I've showed that I know the sport. I have a passion for it. To me, it's just a natural progression into helping show the rest of the world about the sport that I love.
Tell us a little bit about your public speaking career and background in front of the camera.
It's pretty funny. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and in that kind of a cult-like situation scenario, you're raised from a very young age to be comfortable speaking in front of people. So I think I was 7 years old when I did my first Bible talk in front of a crowd of people in church. And you would take the Bible and you would read a few paragraphs or verses, and then you talk about it, and you read a few more, and then you talk about it, and it was a 5-minute talk. And then
training and speaking for fun?
Geez, well, it's funny. When I'm not traveling for invasive and speaking, I've pretty much got 3 days. My only responsibility is get my little girl off to school and being home when she gets home. So I'm up at 7:50 every morning, getting breakfast and lunch for my little girl. She pedals off to school, and then 3:30 she's back, and we're there to go through her homework and then make dinner and just kind of chill. Pretty low-key lifestyle if you're gonna try and be a good single father. But other than that, man, I'm always keeping busy, either training with guys or just like with my zombie cage finder line. There's always a million things that I can be doing and thinking of different marketing ideas, things that I'm really just having fun with. It's hilarious. I can start off the day thinking I've got nothing going on. I just look so okay, and then I turn around and 14 hours have gone by and I've been busy the entire time.
That's it. And you fought for world titles. You were the first Ultimate Fighter given a title shot. You've been on video games. What, in your opinion, can top anything you've already done?
Well, an action figure would be pretty damn nice, don't you think? I mean, are you kidding me? They've got, geez, what's that guy that was in the first run of action figures, the big black guy that looks like a superhero?
Was it Bob Sapp? Does he have one?
No, that's the UFC one. The guy that he fought Kimbo Slice, just a terrible fight, ran away the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I think even Kimbo has an action figure, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? I mean, this guy, and not me? Come on, he's not even in the UFC anymore. Like, dude, did you have like an extra He-Man body already made and just threw his head on there? It's gotta be brutal. So, yeah, an action figure's definitely at the top of the list. That'd be pretty awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've already had the video game, so I guess action figure would be nice.
Yeah, one with the flexible shoulders so I can do the rock hammer. Maybe have the breaking ankle accessory. Comes with crutches, something like that.
You realize after all these years we've been watching you fight, I never really made the connection between Rock and Quarry. Do you realize that? All these years, I never made the connection. I was doing some research for this interview, and it just came to me. I'm not really sure why.
Did you literally feel light bulb above the head?
Yeah. It was another interview that you did where you said it's not The Rock, it's just Rock. And then Rock, Quarry? Okay, I get it. All right, well, Nate, thanks again for speaking with us. We definitely appreciate it. Hopefully the next time we speak, it'll be your show.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the interest.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Bye.